Check. Oprah Winfrey once said, "We cannot become what we need to be if we remain what we are." Good morning, respective judges and fellow participants. My name is Lucy, and along with my colleagues from the Excelsior team, Ariel and Feli, we are here to present our strategy to ecarPlug to help them achieve their business expansion plan. So a brief introduction about the company. ecarPlug is an ICT-based enterprise focused on electric vehicle charging systems, products, and services. Currently, their goal is to expand and increase their market share, of course. And their key capabilities lies between 4 areas that are charger function and structure, big client portfolio, and credible advantages, and the business ecosystem they already currently have. And till this date, the company has installed 25,198 EV charging stations, and among 98% of them are AC chargers and 2% being DC chargers. In addition, they also own 11.48% market share in the AC charging industry in Korea, and also 1.95% of the DC charging market in Korea. And lastly, the company also owns an all-in-one, award-winning, and integrated mobile app called EV Rank, which has over 40,000 members currently in Korea. So, the next problem analysis will be described by my colleague.
Thank you, Lucy. The problem ecarPlug is facing is the rise of competitor and the South Korean market getting more saturated. Now, the largest EV companies of the world, the Teslas, the Schneider Electric, the ABBs, they all have planned their route deep into the EV and EV charging station market. While simultaneously, South Korean conglomerate have just began entering the market domestically and globally. The data shows that South Korea has the highest public charging stations per plug-in electric passenger cars in the world. This means the South Korean market is very concentrated, it's very dense. This also means that going local is the ideal option. Now, there are 3 main regions that can be considered: the North American, European, and Asia Pacific. With the North America and Europe market, their market are already dominated by the aforementioned largest EV companies of the world. On the flip side, the Asia Pacific market, it has a huge market size of $11.2 billion US, and in general, the market is dominated by 2 East Asian EV giants, China and South Korea. We already talked about the South Korean market, but with China, the thing is, 90% of the EVCS market is already owned by the top 15 EV charging companies. So we can conclude the China market is very consolidated. Speaking of consolidated, the market consolidation scale provided by Modern Intelligence, globally, the EV charging station market is almost consolidated. The driving region is, of course, the North America, Europe, and the 2 East Asian giants. If we look into the Asia Pacific market, it is relatively in the middle. Now, keep in mind that the main driving force is China and South Korea, the 2 giants, and we know how dense China is. We know how consolidated China is. So, if we took those 2 out of the equation, if we only count the Southeast Asian market, then the market will be really fragmented. It will be an untapped market. Now, the Southeast Asian market, it is an emerging market, and it has a market size of 1.14 billion with a healthy CAGR of above 30%. The Southeast Asia governing bodies, ASEAN, has declared to develop a regional electric vehicle ecosystem. Now, in this region, there are 3 countries that mainly can be considered: Indonesia, Thailand, and Singapore. First, Indonesia has the biggest CAGR out of the 3. And the main reason people in Indonesia doesn't buy EV is because there is a lack of charging infrastructure. With Thailand, The market is already more established, but it has a lesser compound annual growth rate. And that market already been controlled by two main companies, ADB and Energy Absolute, since they partner with the government to create the nationwide electric vehicle charging network. With Singapore, there is one EV charger per 2 EV. So the market is already very dense, just like South Korea. Our PESEL analysis convinced us that Indonesia is the market to go. On September 2023, the Indonesian government signed an MOU with the South Korean government on building EV ecosystem in Indonesia. Indonesia is also experiencing a rapid economic growth due to the rise in middle and upper class income. The transition in customer preference also favors EV. And on top of all of that, if you own an EV in Indonesia, you will be excluded from vehicle taxes, and you are also excluded from the odd and even plate number regulation. With that being said, that raises the question, how can ecarPlug penetrate the Indonesian EV charger market and capitalize on its rapid growth within the span of 5 years? My colleague Felicia has the answer for that.
Okay, thank you, Ariel. With that being said, now I will continue the presentation. Excelsior team proudly presents the Cascade strategy as our successful global expansion of ecarPlug. So the name comes from a cascading waterfall where each tier represents a crucial phase for ecarPlug's strategy. We have 3 tiers: the system, the pillars, and the people, consisting of B2G, B2B, and B2C respectively. Now, let's take a closer look into each one of the tiers. The highest tier, which is the system, we enforced ecarPlug to work closely with the government to establish ground to penetrate the Indonesian EV charger market through these 3 main strategies. The first one, ecarPlug can partner with the largest oil and gas company in Indonesia, which is Pertamina. Why does ecarPlug need to partner with Pertamina? The first and main reason is because it is a state-owned company that focuses on transitioning to renewable energy, where they operate over 6,500 gas stations across Indonesia. ecarPlug can offer some of these things. The first, they can do a technical knowledge exchange with the certifications and also patents that ecarPlug already has. And not only that, it will also strengthen the bond between political force between Indonesian and South Korean government. ecarPlug can also do a software integration with My Pertamina through the EV Rank app. And looking at the ecarPlug footprint in Indonesia, ecarPlug has been able to secure partnership with Astra Auto Parts in 2022. So a partnership like this is viable and it is enforced. Now moving on to the Green Ministry project, we targeted several ministries such as the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Energy and Minerals, Transportation, and also Investment, because we projected by 2030 that 25% of total government vehicles will be electric. And lastly, we encourage ecarPlug to be involved in the Indonesia's new capital city project based in Borneo, because it is visioned to be Asia's new green capital, with project valuation over $30 billion. So ecarPlug can collaborate with PLN to be the part of top priorities in the first phase of Nusantara project development, because they are considered as energy and transportation company. Moving on to the mid-tier, which is called the pillars, we encourage ecarPlug to cooperate with Indonesia's large property developer to increase product distribution by supplying the EV charger for residential areas such as cluster, hotels, and apartments. And property developer needs to build supporting facilities including hospitals, schools, shopping malls, and universities, among others, to attract customers to move into their new residential areas. It is fortunate that ecarPlug has been able to be this year's competition case contributor, because they have opened up a new connection to various universities across the world, including BINUS University in Indonesia. So BINUS University has more than 40,000 students with 10 campuses in 6 cities. ecarPlug can do collaboration with research project and also internship, benefiting from BINUS's wide connection with various industries across Indonesia. And last but not least, we have the last tier, which is the people. We encourage ecarPlug to do a consignment business model to diversify customer base by implementing the franchise-owned, company-operated, or FOCO ownership models. So where the franchisee will own the property and capital expenditures, but ecarPlug will maintain the end-to-end operation so they can maintain the quality of the service, and the company will give a percentage of profit shares to franchisee. Not only that, we will also do an innovative product advertising. As you can see from the mock-up that we have made for our billboard ads, we are inviting the customers to be a plug pal or a franchisee. And we also created a branding strategy to attract the customers. We have created our mascot called Pluggy. He will be included in the integrated marketing strategy that through the conventional and also online marketing channels. The next part of the implementation will be presented by my colleague, Lucy.
Thank you, Felicia. Now moving on into the implementation plan of our strategy. First, we made an impact projection to see the total number of EV charging stations that we can build in Indonesia. We got this number from calculating the impact from the 3 tiers of our strategy, starting from the system, the pillars, and the people. And as a result, we got an estimate of 36,000 units for the B2G operations, 20,000 units for the B2B operations, and 6,000 units for the B2C operations, totaling to around 63,807 units that are serviceable in the Indonesian market. From that number, we derived the financial projection, more specifically, revenue projection for the company, established for the 5 years for the implementation period, based on the optimistic, neutral, and pessimistic scenarios. And as you can see on the rightmost column, we have the total accumulated revenue over the 5 years implementation period. And from that, we can see that in the optimistic scenario, the company will be able to gather a total of $150 million at the end of the 5 years projection. And accounting for ecarPlug's current annual revenue of $24 million, we can conclude that they can get a 100% growth in their sales in just the first 2 years of operating in Indonesia. Next, we also constructed a timeline projection for assisting to schedule the action plans we have made, and the implementation again will be done over the span of 5 years. Therefore, in conclusion, due to the increasing levels of competition and the saturated Korean market, we have decided to take the strategic decision to expand to the Indonesian market. But how can we penetrate the Indonesian EV charging market effectively? We can do so by implementing the Cascade strategy, which contains 3 tiers starting from the system, the pillars, and the people. And after 5 years of implementation period, we are looking to gather a total of $150 million in accumulated revenue over 5 years, again, based on an optimistic projection of the 63,807 total units of serviceable EV charging stations we have in Indonesia. Therefore, the Excelsior team welcomes ecarPlug to the Indonesian market, and we hope through the Cascade strategy, ecarPlug along with Pluggy will be able to achieve success for the coming years. That is all from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your nice presentation. Your presentation was really impressive, especially the 5-year plan for the Indonesian market, including the financial projection. I will ask a very similar question to other teams. In that you mentioned the 3 partners, Pertamina, PLN, and BINUS. I definitely sure that the BINUS will support us. Let's talk about the other partners. I was stationed in Indonesia for 2 years. I know these companies, Pertamina and PLN. I have business with them. They are very conservative. How ecarPlug can persuade them to collaborate with ecarPlug? Please explain this part somehow in details, okay?
All right, thank you for the question. Let me just go back to the previous slide. Yep, okay, so for context, Pertamina is the largest petrol and gas station with the largest footprint in Indonesia, and it's also state-owned. And we know for a fact that the Indonesian government has signed an MOU with the South Korean government to collaborate into building Indonesia's EV infrastructure. We know that for a fact, and we also know that ecarPlug has been has the ministry and the government of South Korea before as a customer of the company. So we think this is a viable option because due to the very tight political ties between the Indonesian government and the South Korean government in the first place. So.
I'm gonna add something. Regarding the Nusantara project, as we can see here, the VP Director of PLN said himself that to build an electric vehicle ecosystem in Nusantara, PLN will need to collaborate with several parties. And it is mentioned that currently this Nusantara project requires a lot of investment to build this project. And they are open to foreign direct investments and also other companies from overseas to collaborate with them in creating this project.
And also one more thing to add, Indonesia, by the way, from the PESEL analysis, we can see that Indonesia is still very behind in terms of technology for EV charging infrastructure. Like for example, the closest competitor we have in Indonesia, they're selling the EV chargers for a price difference of 100%. Meaning the price we have here at ecarPlug is 50% of the prices they are selling currently in Indonesia. So must be a project as big as Pertamina, who is looking to expand nationally. Of course, they're looking for something more affordable, and it could really use the help of ecarPlug, especially with the lacking of knowledge and technology we currently have in the country.
Okay. Okay, assuming ecarPlug will decide to enter the Indonesian market, which is, you said, it's quite fresh for this kind of industry. What do you think are the challenges that ecarPlug will be facing when they are going to enter the market?
All right, thank you for the question. If I go to the slide. So we provided a risk and mitigation for our strategy for each one of them, and discussing from each one of them, for example, the first, the system, if partnership with the government is not feasible, we still have the two other models to pursue, which is the B2B model and B2C model. And knowing the size of the Indonesian market, which has the fourth largest population in the world, there's always a market, there's always a piece for everyone in the market. So we are very sure that we are able to gain some revenue share from the market. And for the B2B model, the risk is basically large competitors enter the Indonesian markets, like for say Tesla, for example, enter the Indonesian market. And our mitigation is to continue to be one of the partners because there is so many developer companies in Indonesia. In fact, there are 8,000 privately owned and publicly owned developer companies or holdings in Indonesia. So it's a lot. The market is really big. And for the last part, the people, if our marketing efforts are not efficiently converting into actual sales, we plan on adding personal selling on top of content marketing so it becomes more personal and involving, and also educating and socializing to increase the understanding of the business model, because currently people have very minimum education on how the EV market works, how long does it take to charge, and also the revenue or the margins that can be that we can attain from it. And there is also a growing trend in the Indonesian market, especially among the younger generations, the Gen Z and millennials. We are very open to business opportunities and so on. And like, for example, for us alone, if we're given this opportunity, we would take it to invest. So these are the risks and mitigations for our plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.